date is August 27th. You should have agendas in front of you. Before we progress any further, I did not notice say the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. However, I would like to start with the moment of silence for the victims of the Minneapolis shooting, the children that were shot and injured. Can we have a moment of silence? Thank you. Roll call.
Fowler.
Present.
Blaine.
Present.
Blaine. Absent.
Possible.
Foster. Foster. Present. And
Looks like we have a quorum. We have 3 board members present. First action discussion on short extension for deadline for clerk and treasurer applicants. Now, I put this on the agenda rather than just breaking right into a closed session, just because do we want to really cut off applications on the short, what we already decided, or should we in fact say that perhaps the application period will remain open until the position is filled? Just because that way I don't want to preclude somebody from applying if we get a really good applicant. Not saying we don't have good applicants now, but it would seem to me that if we held it open, it wouldn't shut the door on us.
With leaving it open, then when can we proceed with interviewing?
We can proceed as scheduled, and I think we should. I was just saying that what we had said before would shut the door for applicants, and my only intent here is let's keep it open. Who knows if we have a good applicant coming in.
Okay.
But I think we should proceed.
Depending on how far we are in the process, are we obligated to provide an interview if, for example, we are close to deciding and an application comes in the 11th hour? I expect that. Are we not under any obligation? I don't think so.
No, you're not.
Okay. So, then I have no problem with it open.
All right, so my motion, Frank, will be this. Motion to proceed as already voted upon, with the exception of to say we'll leave the application period open until the position is filled. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Item 4, action discussion on posting of jobs for recruiter websites that the town has accounts for. I did find accounts that we do have for
Indeed.
Indeed.
And there was another one, I can't
I
remember.
want to say it's a monster, but I could be wrong.
Indeed.
The thing is, they cost money, and we already have, and so the reason I put this on the agenda is before I just went ahead and spent it, even though we kind of already talked about possibly doing this. This is a specific authorization, by what we've already voted on. We're coming up close to our deadline, so do we want to even do this?
Any idea of what those costs might be for either one or both?
So it's not a preset number. You have to fill out the application and then you get a quote. It's going to be well over $100. So personally, and again, because we're spending money, we have to talk about it in public, but I just thought, I think we've got some pretty decent applicants. I don't think we should. What are your thoughts? Because I could go either way, but
I'm not afraid of spending money when we're looking for the best that we can. But on the same, I have seen some very good applicants.
what are your thoughts, Dave?
I feel the same way. But, I don't have a problem with doing one of them. And so, we could take Indeed or whatever and just try that.
I think Indeed is the more relevant of the two.
Yes.
So are you making a motion to post the positions on Indeed?
I am.
I'll second your motion.
Motion by Dan, second by Susan. Any further discussion?
Do we need to put we're not going to put a price limit on this? Because you said you don't know until you, okay, so we can't really put a,
I think, we assume that it's going to be less than $200.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion by Foster.
aye.
Aye.
Aye. Discussion action on procedure for hiring clerk and treasurer. So depending on how one and two went, I just wanted to put that on there just to make sure that if there were any changes to what we're thinking, what we've already voted on. We have a meeting coming up on September 3rd. We will break into our working session still under this agenda to talk about our candidates. But if there was, for example, anything that needed to come up between now and the next meeting, which I don't think there would, that's the only reason I put it on here. So I'm not even looking necessarily for a motion, just wanted to cover our bases.
So, on this procedure, at our next September meeting, is that when we are going to,
Identify interviewees. I think we should be able to do that.
Because what we can do is we can go into closed session tonight, talk about who we're going to interview, and we can put it on the agenda to take action on that on the September 3rd meeting. Or we can do it tonight.
So I don't know if we necessarily have to identify them in our meetings who we're going to interview, so I don't think we should necessarily do that.
Okay.
we could just pick our time when we think we may be interviewing.
Right.
Decide on what
I don't
week.
think we need to publish it.
No.
No, that's fine. All right, hearing no action item on number 5, we'll move on to item 6. This is one I did want to talk about. Because we really didn't agree on a procedure. I think we voted on September 8th as our deadline, and we can still keep that. The one thing I wanted to make very clear is that all of the discussions, all of the interviews, every bit of this has to be public. There is no legal justification for putting this in closed session. So it will be public. Just want to make everybody's expectation clear. That includes the interviews. If we have a candidate that we choose to interview, they would interact in public. Because essentially what we're charged with is conducting an election as elected people. So we are conducting an election amongst ourselves to fill a role. So there is nothing that can be right on this. So there's the reason we're able to do a closed session tonight is these are employees. This is an elected person we're filling. So there's not the same justification.
I would like to hear from each and every person that has been sponsored or put themselves forward for this position. I would ask that they give us a letter of understanding what,
Yeah.
their intent, I guess their intent, that
Right.
they are true. Somebody just didn't recommend them for this, that they themselves, yes, I have intention for doing this. It's not just somebody recommended me, and I am willing to serve the full,
And maybe something about this is a political position. What is your vision? What is your qualifications? Why do you want to run? have to be anything terribly formal, it can be an email. Writing is writing. So I guess I would make a motion that to be considered, the candidate must submit to the clerk at hudsonwi.town, email or drop off in person, a letter explaining why they want to run for the position, any relevant qualifications, their values, etc., that we might consider.
And this will be added to the deadline of September 8th.
Yes.
My understanding is now, the last time there was an appointment for a open position, it was in 2020. And I think that there were multiple candidates. The only candidates that were considered were the ones that were nominated by board members, city board members. In other words, if there was like several people that were talked to about it, those people could not then come to a meeting, present themselves, as candidates, and require an open vote.
I hear exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think that that's kind of why I put this on. I want a procedure that, let's say a motion would include a letter by a deadline to the clerk, right? So those things have to be complied with. That would also be for one of us puts a name out there, right? So I think we can break this down into 2 steps. One, what's required? And if the hurdle here is it has to be nominated by a board member, if I've got a citizen that's written to the clerk, I'll put them on the list. I don't care. Okay, so let's not worry about that.
But yeah, are you going to nominate more than one?
I don't see why not. I know it's already been the case from what I understand from the clerk that there's been multiple names put forward by one board member.
So
I beg your pardon?
I provided you a list of the names and who has
Yes.
provided
Yes, okay.
names for the position of this one.
So my suggestion is we break this down into 2 steps. What's required? Okay, that'll kind of be our first motion. Then I want to make a second motion that, let's say we get 13, 14 applicants. That's too many for us to interview in public, right? So at that point in time, I think what I'm going to propose is that we create a chart of the people, nominated by whom, okay, or however, and then we vote to advance to the next round. And if that candidate doesn't get 3 votes, then we won't consider them for a public interview. Because if they can't get 3 votes, they wouldn't be passed anyway. So just keep in mind, Frank's got to vote by law, Rachel's got to vote by law, all of us have to vote by law. So there's going to be 5 votes. So that'll narrow it down hopefully to 3, 4 candidates if we do that process. And again, that's why I want to put this on the agenda so we know what we're doing ahead of time. We all know what the rules are. All right. Any further discussion?
I think actually that the clerk only has a vote in the event of a tie.
Correct.
Yes.
So it's not a voting member unless it's a tie.
I'll review the statute. My understanding was the clerk got both.
I think you're right, it's a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
I'll look it up while we're chatting.
That's the way it's been handled in the past.
And then when you say, I'm just guessing here, so say we have 15 applicants, and we say everyone, you said you wanted 1 through 15, as I say, well, you pick your top 5.
Okay, so I have your answer in a minute. Under Wisconsin statute 17.25, vacancies in the town offices shall be filled as follows. The town board by the remaining supervisors and the town clerk, except when a special election is authorized under sub 2 in paragraph D. So the law is the clerk gets a vote. And I did run that by Paul and asked specifically, what about interim? He said, well, if he's signing his name as clerk, he's the clerk. So we're going to have 5 votes. Because we have to follow statute or else we're in big trouble.
I'm fine, then just as long, just want to make sure that we're sure of it.
I'm as reasonably confident of this as possible. Now, okay, so I guess the first motion is, I'll just repeat it again. I don't think I had a second, but my first motion is to be considered for the position. The interested potential supervisor must submit a letter, can be by email or handwritten delivered to the clerk, outlining their letter of intent to run, the reasons they're running, any values or pertinent information they want to share, qualifications, etc. Do I have a second on that motion? And by September 8th.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion 3-0. The second motion I would make is probably at a special meeting, because this is going to be longer than we want to deal with in a regular meeting, to be determined perhaps at the next board meeting when we have everybody here. I think we should utilize the following process. Once we've compiled all those names that have met the requirements, that we hold a special meeting to vote to advance for interviews, and that candidate must get 3 votes to advance to the second round.
And this again will happen after September 8th.
Correct.
I'll second that.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Third motion. Once we've identified our 3, 4, or however many the number is, people to interview, I think we should hold a second special meeting, or possibly October 3rd, or whatever the date might be for the next one. Depends on how all this goes. But we will have to have a public interview and question session with those remaining candidates, and at that meeting we will select the final board person.
Our October meeting is actually October 1st.
I would think we should do it then, don't you? Or if we've only got 2 or 3 people that passed the first round, we could set it earlier. Just depends on how many meetings y'all want to do.
Right, and October, we're going to be working on a budget.
I'm good with October 1st.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, we don't need a motion because we're already scheduled for October 1st. So I'll withdraw the motion. So that should, unless there's more discussion or actions on the procedure to fill Town Supervisor, that should take care of that. The next item on the agenda is to convene the closed session. But before we do, it does say item 8, action on any closed session items. Our intent here was to have a workshop. I don't believe we are going to have any action items from this because we've already laid out what our procedures were. We wanted to do that in public so people could see it. So I would not expect there to be anything other than coming out of closed session and adjourning. So come out of closed session, reopen open session, adjourn. That's what we're planning on, right?
Right.
All right, just want to let the public know that. So do I have a motion to convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1985-1C for the purpose of considering applicants for the position of clerk and treasurer, which the government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility over?
So moved.
Motion by Susan, I'll second. Any further discussion, moving to closed session? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, 3-0. We're now in closed session, so that needs to turn off. And everybody will see you later.